Hi, hope having a great day. You're watching JFG Entertainment, and for this video, I'm gonna go in over the first reactions and reviews for Avatar: The Way of the Water. They finally came out today with a bunch of screenings and everything. So there's a bunch of critics giving the first round reviews, and for this video, I'm gonna go in over like 8 different critics that I thought gave some really nice, interesting reviews from all different perspectives. People that didn't like it, people that loved it, all different perspectives. I'm gonna give you all that in this video to kind of like give you an idea of what to expect, what you might like, what you might not like. I'm gonna give you all that in this video. So yeah, let's get started. And to get started, first of all, I'm gonna give you the idea of the format of this video. So usually I'll scoot to the side like I'm gonna do right now, and I'll play right here whatever the tweet was from the critic that gave the first review. So yeah, let's start with the first one. And the first one comes from Eric Davis, who said, "Happy to say Avatar: The Way of the Water is phenomenal. Bigger, better, and more emotional than Avatar. The film is visually breathtaking, visceral, and incredibly engrossing. The story, the spectacle, the spirituality, the beauty, this is movie making and storytelling at its absolute finest." So yeah, he had very positive things to say about it. He absolutely loved it. He called it breathtaking. He sort of said it was movie filmmaking and storytelling at its finest. So you can tell that Eric Davis really thought it was great. And he also mentioned that it's better than the first Avatar movie. So in case you had that question, well, he just answered it for you. Now, this is not all he said. He also added, "This is James Cameron leaning right into that Cameron playbook. There are Titanic vibes, True Life vibes, Abyss vibes, Terminator 2 vibes. It is Cameron in top form, matching tremendous visuals with very entertaining and emotional story that leaves you wanting more. Loved," in all caps. So yeah, he absolutely loved this movie. As you can see, he even said at the end he loved it, and he really said that he matched all the these different vibes from different movies like Titanic, which he made, Terminator 2, all the movies that he's made before. He kind of meshed it all together to combine it into this super big extra mega movie that he made. So yeah, he absolutely loved that, and it seems like if you love Cameron as a filmmaker, this is definitely going to be the movie for you. And he straight up put in all caps, very entertaining. So yeah, if you're worried about a 3-hour runtime, apparently it's very entertaining. So yeah, it looks like it might go on fast. Now, Eric Davis didn't stop there. He also added one last thing, which said, "I felt similar after Avatar: The Way of Water than I did after Top Gun: Maverick, in that it reminds you of why we love movies and why we anticipate big spectacle on the big screen when it lands on all levels. There's nothing sweeter. This one entertains big time. Truly a memorable ride." So it looks like he thinks that this kind of was like an incredible movie-going experience. He said he compared it to his Top Gun Maverick movie-going experience, which of course Top Gun Maverick is known for like the movie experience where like, oh, this is like the movie that you go to see like a movie like that kind of like gives you that like, wow, this is a spectacle, this is a ride, you know, this is amazing. That's kind of what Top Gun Maverick is known for giving you that experience, and it seems like that's gonna be the case with Avatar: The Way of Water, except that it's gonna be maybe like even bigger because, you know, it's like a more budget movie and everything. So yeah, it just looks like it's gonna be a really fun time at the movies. Alright, continuing on with a different critic, let's move on to Dan Moran, who said, "Cameron isn't messing around with Avatar: The Way of the Water. It's bigger than the original in almost every way. While the story packs less punch, it's a stunning technological leap forward. A must-see in theaters with jaw-dropping 3D, though I'm still not sold on the high frame rate." So yeah, that's really interesting. So he definitely liked Avatar: The Way of Water. He said that he isn't messing around with it. It's bigger, which is great. I think big stories are kind of what you need to see in theaters. If you're gonna do a small story, might as well put it in streaming. Like, nobody wants to see like small stories, to be honest, and at least box office wise. And this is gonna be like a big story. So if you hear her for like a huge spectacle, this definitely seems like it's gonna be it. And he did say that while the story packs less of a punch, which I found very interesting, he still said that it was a stunning technological leap forward, which makes sense. It's like 13 years later, so of course it makes sense. But it's not just from the original, but also from these new movies, which is really interesting. So we're finally going to see some amazing CGI. So yeah, it says that you must watch it in 3D because apparently it's jaw-dropping. And he also mentions something of the high frame rate, which is interesting because this movie has a higher frame rate than most movies. So the fact that it has that high of a frame rate, it looks like it might be tripping out some people. He's not the only one that mentions it. So yeah, that's just interesting to just point out. Next up, Sian Okunao, who said, "Never bet against James Cameron. His Avatar: The Way of Water surpasses the original on every level. Incredible visuals, but a much more emotional connection to the characters and story. The final hour is Cameron flexing every muscle, reminding blockbuster filmmakers how it's done." So clearly, Sian Okunao really liked this movie a lot as well, and he did mention that Avatar: The Way of Water definitely is better than Avatar in every way possible. So if you're somebody that didn't love Avatar, then it looks like this movie is gonna be better. So don't take a word with that. the other one that we just saw, they say that the other one was more emotional. Like Avatar 1 was more emotional. So it's interesting to see like these different contrasts. So there might be some kind of like a controversy there where maybe Avatar 1 was more emotional and story focused, where this one isn't. I don't really know because I haven't seen the movie, but it's really, really interesting. Even though this one says that it's much more emotional, so it's really interesting. It just had like this kind of contrast, which is kind of cool. Now, he also mentioned that the final hour is Cameron just flexing every muscle that he has, showing how at directors how it's done nowadays. So it's really interesting to see like the final hour is really what got you hyped up. Kind of reminds me of Endgame whenever that first came out. It was like the final hour is like the dream of everybody. So it looks like this final hour of this movie is going to be the dream of everybody. So interesting, very interesting. I'm very curious to see that final hour. It sounds pretty awesome. Alright, moving on to the next critic. This one's going to come from Jake Hamilton, who said, as someone who liked but didn't love the first Avatar, let me tell you, Avatar The Way of Water blew me away. Vastly superior in visuals, storytelling, and performances. The sequel left my jaw on the ground for the entire runtime. James Cameron is the god of sequels. So that's really, really interesting. He absolutely looks shocked by how good this movie was. And he said this as someone who liked the first one but didn't love it. So interesting. You just kind of liked the first one but you didn't love it. You weren't like, oh, this movie's awesome. You're just like, yeah, this movie's pretty good. Then it looks like this movie's definitely going to be a lot better. I think it looks like this movie's going to be a lot more for you. You're going to like it a lot more. And I think it's really interesting because they mentioned that the performances are something that gets improved on, which is really interesting. I'm really curious to see the performances. I think that this definitely seems like a movie where a lot of actors are going to give their all just because it's such a big movie and such a big project. So I'm very, very curious to see those performances. I'm really, really curious. And also, it just mentions how James Cameron is the god of sequels, which of course he is. I mean, he just makes some amazing sequels, like a Terminator 2, awesome stuff. So yeah, really just great stuff from James Cameron and from this, and thanks for that critic for giving us such a great review. Alright, next up is going to be Tessa Smith, who said, Avatar The Way of Water is an epic, stunning, cinematic adventure. It delivers on both action and heart, while giving fans an intriguing story that feels earned and warranted. Never doubt James Cameron. Biggest issue? Feels like a stepping stone for what's next. Avatar, Avatar The Way of the Water. Now, this Russia review is very interesting because it kind of tests like it's just an incredible experience, which many others have been saying. An epic, stunning, cinematic, adventure. You know, all those things that all these other ones have been saying. But it also kind of talks more about how it really dives into the action, because the action, there wasn't a lot of action in the first movie, so this one seems like it's going to dive a lot more into the action. And the heart, which is great. I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited. And they also mentioned how the biggest issue of this movie is more like that it feels like a middle chapter. Not really like, oh, this is its own story, but it feels like a stepping stone for the next movie, which we know Avatar 3 is coming and it's already filmed and everything. So it makes sense that that's the case, but it definitely seems like that's kind of the biggest issue. I kind of have issues with the type of those movies. I don't know about you, but if you have issues with this type of movies, this might be an issue for you. But it still seems like it's going to be a great movie. So, hey, I gotta see it and give you my thoughts after I see it. But I think that sounds like a little bit of an issue, but it sounds still like great stuff. Tessa Smith then added by saying, Avatar The Way of Water once again teaches us to respect animals and the environment, but it's also all about family and our bond with one another. Certain moments seem drawn out purposely to enhance the eye candy. I wasn't complaining. It's a must watch in 3D IMAX. So that's really interesting, great stuff. It kind of just talks about the message of the movie, respecting the animals and the environment, just like the first one, but also talking about how it's about family and bonding with each other. You know, Fast and Furious will be proud of this, of course. And also it talks about how some moments are more drawn out just to look really awesome, which she wasn't complaining. And she's basically saying you must watch it on 3D IMAX, which is kind of like, if you're gonna watch this movie, you should definitely watch it at least in 3D. I think 3D is like at least you must, because this movie is made for 3D and it's made for the biggest screen possible, and it's really just made all for visuals. Like it's really just a technological advancement. So yeah, watch it in 3D IMAX if you can, according to Tessa Smith. Alright, moving on to the next critic, and this one's gonna give a different perspective. And this one comes from Ian Sanwell, who says, unsurprisingly, Avatar The Way of Water is a visual masterpiece with rich use of 3D and breathtaking vistas. It does suffer from a thin story and too many characters to juggle. Yet, James Cameron puts it together for an extraordinary final act full of emotion and thrilling action. So yeah, so that's a kind of different perspective, because it talks about how the story is not good enough. Every other one kind of talking about how the story is good. This one kind of is like, nope, this story is really thin. It's not enough for like the runtime that it has. It says that it has way too many characters to kind of play with. But it does say that, however, James Cameron does manage to pull it all together towards at the end with the final act, which, as the other one mentioned, like one of the critics earlier mentioned, how the final hour was like the best thing. It was just awesome. So it seems like the final act is going to be some really nice stuff, and I really cannot wait for it. He also mentioned how the final act is just full of emotion and thrilling action. So yeah, can't wait to see that final act. I'm super excited. I think that sounds like super awesome stuff. But yeah, just great stuff. And also just talking about how it's a visual masterpiece. So if you're somebody that really cares for the visuals, this movie is for you. Alright, and moving on to my final first review that I'm going to have for you in this video. And it's coming from Ross Bonaim. I think that's how you say it. I probably completely just said that wrong, but that's how I'm going to say it. But Ross said, considering how I found Avatar to be all style, no substance, I'm completely taken aback by how much Avatar: The Way of Water rules. Looks unlike any movie I've ever seen. But Cameron really puts the focus on character this time, which does even more for building the world than VFX. So that's really awesome stuff. So it's really interesting because he talks about how he thought the first Avatar was basically all just visuals. He just thinks the story was whatever. But in this case, it looks like Avatar Water, wow, it still has some incredible visuals, like some really amazing stuff. It's going to focus a lot more on the characters, really putting time into the characters, which he says is just better than having great VFX. It just enhances the story even more. And so yeah, that's all the first impression reviews that I have for you in this video. Tell me what you think about them down in the comments. Are you excited? Are you not excited? Which one of these made you the most excited? What do you want to see the most? Is it the visual part? Is it the characters? Are you actually excited to see the sequel of Avatar? Like, were you engrossed in that story and you want to see how it continues? I am very curious to just know what you want to go see in this movie, and where are your expectations? Are you like at a 10? Are you at a 9? I'm very curious. Tell me that down in the comments. As well as please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It would be very helpful, so please don't forget to leave a like. It really helps out. And lastly, make sure to subscribe for a lot more content, including Avatar: The Water content whenever the movie comes out, and just content on a bunch of other movies and shows. I also cover shows, so movies and shows. I just a bunch of content on lots of stuff. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it. So yeah, subscribe. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And this is Entertainment out.